What is up everyone, we're back again with another video, and today is going to be something a little bit different. Now you might be wondering what this video is going to involve by the title or the thumbnail, so let me just try and explain it really quickly. A lot of people ask me why I love film or what made you fall in love with movies, and it's kind of hard to just answer that, but it did get me thinking. What's some times in my life where I've felt the magic of movies, and I've come up with 5 today where I could say are probably my personal favourite little mini stories of why I fall in love with films, why I love them so much, and you know, that's stick in the memory if you like. Now it will make sense as the list goes on, but I'm just going to get into it now with number 5, and you could say the first one is probably my favourite, number 1, but it's not really in a particular order. But let's just get into it with number 5. Number 5 is going to be the Dark Knight cinema experience. Now, I remember this movie was coming out on a Friday, and I went to get tickets early, about 2 weeks earlier. You couldn't really get them on the internet then. I had to go to the cinema to pre-order them. And I got the ticket and it said Thursday night, and I was like, oh, I'm going in a day earlier, how's that? But I was so excited for this film. After watching Batman Begins and that amazing ending where he flips the card over and the Joker said, it's basically said the Joker is going to be in the next movie, I was like, oh my god, because I loved the original Batman from Tim Burton, but what I loved about that film was Jack Nicholson as the Joker. And to see this character come alive again on the big screen was so exciting to me. And I sort of heard like Heath Ledger was going to be the new Joker, and I was like, really? I don't know about that one. But I was so excited the film, nonetheless, because Batman Begins was amazing. And when I went to see this on the cinema, it was the best cinema experience of my life. Now, a lot of people say that they were in the cinema for Alien in the 1970s with the chest burst scene and stuff, and that could have been amazing. A lot of people said that Terminator 2 was unbelievable on the big screen, but this was my big screen experience that was like no other. I just thought the movie was fantastic, from the opening bank robbery scene to Heath Ledger's performance until its very end, and I just sat there knowing I'd seen a masterpiece, and today it remains in my top 10 movies of all time. So number 5, I went with my favourite ever cinema experience, and that is The Dark Knight. Number 4 is going to be my first ever viewing of Terminator 2. Now, you could say this is where I actually fell in love with films. I was about 7 years old or something, and my mum and dad sort of let me start to watch more adult-orientated films. Now, they hadn't seen this movie either, and they rented it from their local Blockbuster video shop. And I remember watching this in one of the very first houses I lived in with them. And we were just, I remember my mum and dad going, oh, isn't this film amazing? But I was just watching it going, oh my god, this is absolutely unreal. I didn't know films like this existed. I was just like, oh my god. The villain of the T-1000, when he walked through that metal railing, just liquefied his body through it, and the gun gets stuck. I was like, oh my god. I'd only watched like family oriented films before that, but I'd heard rumblings about Terminator 2 because in 1992 that was a massive movie, wasn't it? And a few years later people were still talking about it and stuff, so my mum and dad finally rented it for them to watch, but they let me watch it as well, and it was fantastic. It's hard to remember it fully, but I remember these moments in the living room and my mum and dad just gasping at the screen of how good it was. I'd always remember looking over and just seeing the look on their faces, and I enjoyed it very much as well. And again, like The Dark Knight, this is in my top 10 movies of all time, and you could say, like I said, that is where I fell in love with movies. So number 4 is going to be my first viewing of Terminator 2. Number 3 is going to be Gangster movie marathon. Now, I'd seen films like Terminator 2, like I mentioned before and stuff, but I never really watched these movies that were a little bit harder to understand. And when I was about 14 or 15, I started to realise how the world was working and stuff. And I'd never seen all these gangster films that everyone talked about. and I just started collecting DVDs there. I got a PlayStation 2 for Christmas with Grand Theft Auto 3, but it also had a DVD player attached, and I was just thinking, I'm going to buy every movie in the world now on DVD. Whoa, this is well better than video and stuff. But I remember that Christmas, my dad got me 10 or 11 DVDs there, and they were all gangster movies, and he picked out the ones that he thought were the best. So I got the Godfather box set, Goodfellas, Casino, Pulp Fiction, you know, the list goes on. Basically, Once Upon a Time in America and stuff. There's about 10 or 11 there, and wow. I already loved movies, but this is where I really started to appreciate cinema. I mean, I was just like, Goodfellas, wow, blown away. The next day, I'd put Godfather in, wow, blown away. Godfather 2, blown away. The next day, I put Pulp Fiction in, couldn't believe what I'd just seen. I actually played the movie twice there because it was that good. I watched it twice in one day. And over that 1 or 2 week period while I was off school, I watched some of the best movies ever made. One after the other, and it was just absolutely amazing. And I thank my dad to this day for getting me that stack of amazing gangster movies, and it's one of my favourite genres in movie history now. I mean, I love horror, as a lot of people know. I love action movies, but gangster films as well is also one of my favourites. So number 3 is Gangster Movie Marathon. Number 2 is going to be the VHS Story of RoboCop. Now, my dad taped this for me on ITV years ago, and to this day it does remain my favourite film of all time. But as a kid, I was rewatching this VHS tape over and over and over again. I couldn't get enough of RoboCop. However, what I didn't know is that it was edited heavily. I mean, every single swear word in that film was voice-overed. Every violent scene was cut out. But I didn't know that at the time. I just thought this was a great movie. And my friend Terry in school, I think my VHS got damaged, and he went, I'll borrow it, don't worry. And he had the real original version of this VHS. And I went home and I put it on, and it was like a totally different film. All the bad language is in there. Murphy's death scene was in there. Emil, the guy who's melting in the acid, I didn't even know that was in that movie. And when I seen that, it scared the life out of me. But I was just like, I was watching a totally new movie. It was one of the best experiences ever. And I made my dad go out and buy me that original VHS. And to this day, it remains my favourite film of all time. And if it weren't for that, I still would have loved the movie. But that just added something for me. I mean, it made the film grow in appreciation in my life from seeing one version to the other. And on that Arrow Video Blu-ray release, you can watch the heavily edited version on there. It was put on for fun. And if you want to see a few laughs, I advise you watch it, because you won't believe some of the editing that went into that ITV version. But number 2 is the VHS Story of RoboCop. Number 1, though, is going to be my love for horror. I have told this story on the channel a few times, but when I was like in year 5 in school, when I was like, what, 8, 9, something like that, I overheard these kids talking about horror movies. Now, I'd watched like Terminator 2, like I mentioned before, and RoboCop, but I didn't know there was actually movies out there where people would go around killing people in horrible ways. And I overheard these kids talking about this man with a claw and a burnt face who killed these kids in their dreams. And I was like, going over for another listen. And I was like, what the hell is this movie? And they were talking about this Freddy Krueger character. And I was like, I have to watch this, but I'm kind of scared, but I have to watch it. So I just went home to my mum and went, Mum, I want to watch this movie called Freddy Krueger. And she was like, no, you've got no chance. And I was like, what? All the kids at school have seen it. And she went, I don't care. You are not watching that movie no matter what. You can ask me all you want. And honestly, I asked my mum and dad to let me watch this movie for about 2 or 3 years, and they were having none of it. I mean, it was so unfair. I never wanted anything more. The more they said I couldn't watch it, the more I wanted to. And it took a while, but my dad had a car boot sale. Funny enough, this guy was selling all these Nightmare on Elm Street VHS tapes, and he bought me a Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Don't know why he bought me that one, but he did. I went home, and I stuck it in the player, and my mum went, "Don't you be pressing play just yet, your sister wants to come and watch it with you." I went, she's like 3 years younger than me. Oh my god, it pissed me off so much that she was allowed to watch it with me. After me begging for 2 or 3 years. But that is where my love of horror began. I was just in love with that movie. I watched it time and time again, like RoboCop and Terminator 2, and it's still my favourite Freddy film to this day. Mainly because it's the best, but also it might have something to do with that story. But my love of horror started there. It's my favourite genre to this day. And yeah, I mean, you know, when you just can't have something and you finally get it and it's amazing, that's what that was. So number one is going to be my love of horror. Okay guys, hope you all enjoyed this video. It was just a little fun video to do with some little mini stories there. I hope you enjoyed them. It'd be great to see other people do this video, because I'd be really interested to hear some of other people's stories, some of the YouTubers out there. Please feel free to do this, because like I said, it could be very interesting. So I had a good time talking about this. It was great to relive some nostalgia there. And if you want more videos, it's up to yourself. Maybe you want to subscribe. If you want to comment underneath, I will reply to every single one of you, I promise. Take it all easy, guys. I'll see you all in the next video.